Okay, so hey guys, welcome back to another predictions video, and in today's video I'm going to be predicting the Billiam-Smith versus Masternak fight. If you're new around here though and you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Like the video if you do need like the video, and let's get straight into it. So, going into this fight, Billiam-Smith is 18-1 with 12 KOs, and Masternak is 47-5 with 31 KOs. This fight is for the WBO World Cruiserweight title. Billiam-Smith's last fight was a win via majority decision versus Okoli, and Masternak's last fight was a win via unanimous decision versus Watelli. This is in Billiam-Smith's home country of England. Billiam-Smith is a 33 and Masternak is a 36. Billiam-Smith's loss came via split decision versus Riakporhe in 2019. Masternak's loss came via losses have come versus Dorticos in 2018. Bellew in 2015, Muller in 2015, Kalenga in 2014, and Drods in 2013. So to speak a bit more about what I've just said there, of course is for a world title yet again. Billiam defending his world title now, and against a very tough game opponent who has been around the cruiserweight scene for a long time and has been fighting tough opponents for a long time. But I don't know if this might be his first title shot. I might be wrong, but if it is, then it's crazy how he's only just getting this title shot now. But you'd have to possibly argue that it might be a little bit late for him to be getting this title shot now. But he's got it, and he's coming to Billiam-Smith's home country yet again. He's coming in to somebody else's back garden, and yet again he's probably going to be coming in with an underdog mentality that he's probably more used to now. And we're going to have to wait and see if he's going to be able to deliver or not. Billiam-Smith's last fight, obviously, it was a majority decision versus Okoli. It was a fight which he definitely should have won unanimously. It was a sloppy fight. Okoli made that sloppy, and Billiam-Smith did what he had to do in a very tough fight. I mean, he still managed to score, 2-3 knockdowns, and Okoli got 1 or 2 point deductions as well. And so to still only it be a majority decision is pretty crazy, to be honest. But still managing to get a victory, and everybody saw it as convincing, and I'm quite glad that we're not quite seeing the rematch as of yet, because I think Okoli, his style at the moment isn't looking the best, and I don't know if his mindset's the best at the moment, and I'd like to see him rebuild and become the boxer where he was at the start of his career before he does get a chance to rematch Billiam-Smith. Of course, this being in Billiam-Smith's home country, it's in his home city of Bournemouth. He's used to fighting there now, but he's of course going to add lots more pressure with him fighting there, and like I mentioned though, I think he is more used to it now. Of course, Masternak, like I said, the age could be a big thing, and it seems as though possibly just on paper, whenever he has kind of stepped up in opponents, Masternak being Bellew and Dorticos, he's lost both of them times. So you kind of have to think, if you're going to be fighting at the top level and you're losing both your times, then if you're going to class somebody as Billiam-Smith, who is a world champion, being that at the top level, then you think on paper that Billiam-Smith will be able to win. But there's been weaknesses shown in Billiam-Smith's game, and is Masternak going to be able to kind of poke into that and exploit that? We'll have to wait and see. But to speak about them as fighters, Billiam-Smith, he's shown he has heart in the fights. He's shown weaknesses in fights like I mentioned, but he's shown that he also has heart as well. Against Chamberlain, it was a tough, gritty fight, which he had to go through quite a lot to be able to get through, and did that, and then came back to win. And then against Soshang, I apologise for my pronunciation, he was struggling a bit and having some problems, but then he managed to get the big shot and managed to get him out of there. And he's shown that he can have heart and get through tough parts, and he's also shown he can be hurt, but he shows that he can get through that. He's got good stamina, he's got a good work rate, he's got good timing, solid counters, he can fight on the front foot or the back foot, he can stay quite controlled and relatively composed. He's not one to really get overly frustrated, and against Okoli he could have easily got really frustrated and lost a bit of a game plan, but he didn't. He stayed controlled and managed to work through that. He has a solid high guard. He, in my opinion, is improving in close. I think that Saj fight showed that he needed to improve in close a bit, but in the Okoli fight he definitely looked like he improved in close, and when Okoli was making it sloppy and close, he was still finding successes and still having successes, and so I think he is improving in close, but I also think he's a good mid-range fighter in the process as well. He's got a good chin, finds angles well, he's gaining aggression I think as well. I think earlier on in his career he maybe didn't have the necessary aggression that you kind of need to be a boxer and to really kind of get opponents out of there, but in his last two performances I think he's shown that he's got that more aggression to him, and he does have that spiteful aspect and he can turn that on when necessary. The negatives about him, of course all the pressure's on him, but like I said, I think he's quite used to that. He may be overlooking Masternak here. There's big talks about other big fights around the domestic scene and the world scene, and so he possibly may be overlooking Masternak here. His balance isn't great. He's not really a fluid mover. He sometimes seems like he's trying to force the movements and can come in a bit, possibly a bit more recklessly at times. He stands upright. He doesn't really impose himself too much. He can get pushed back, but he is a big guy himself, but he doesn't always impose himself as much as probably he could. He's not overly fast. He can be outboxed a bit. He can sometimes box into the opponent's fights, and obviously he's then willing to stand and trade, and he can find successes with finding angles while doing that, but it sometimes means that he can be kind of outboxed and outpaced when he is fighting opponents' fights. He has to follow up on his shots. Sometimes he does, and when he does, he looks great, but sometimes he doesn't, and he needs to be doing that more to be able to get opponents out of them more. And he is a bit more of a slower starter, but I don't think that's really going to be a problem in this fight, to be honest. But to speak about Masternak as a fighter, of course, he's a very experienced fighter, like I mentioned. I mean, my maths ain't great, but 52 fights in the professional scene, it's very impressive, and to now be getting the world title shot Masternak, and that shows he's got experience, and of course, like I've mentioned multiple times, he's fought at a very high level. He's tough. He will probably be the aggressor out of the two, but he can also fight on the back foot as well as the front foot. I think he's comfortable on both, like that of Billiam-Smith. He's quite composed. He counters well. He works off the jab. Everything seems to come off his jab. He can let his hands go when necessary and doesn't know how to close out a show when necessary, and he can do that. He's not reckless though. I'd like to say he's not overly committing to shots, and like I said, he's not overly reckless. He's a solid hitter. He does hit with intent, does hit hard, and probably will aim to punch through your guard, and he's going to be a tough opponent to face offensively wise. It will bring a physical presence as well, and so it'll be interesting to see how Billiam-Smith will do that with that. I think he might have to be on the back foot for a bit of this fight, Billiam-Smith, and move around the ring and try and counter Masternak when necessary. He's got good time in Masternak. He can find a rhythm. When he does find a rhythm, he is quite hard to deal with, and he can start flowing his shots, putting his shots together when he does find that of a rhythm. The negatives about him, his head's quite open. He's not really got much defensive movement. He walks onto shots. Sometimes he can be a bit too tough and, like I said, just walk onto more and more shots. He can headhunt a bit at times. When he does put his work to the body, it is fluid, it is nice, but he doesn't really do it as much as probably I'd like to see him do that. He's willing to take a shot to give a shot, but then sometimes he can take quite big shots. He can be pushed back himself, but I don't know if Billiam-Smith's going to be really able to do that. He can then struggle when he is under pressure, when he is getting pushed back, so if Billiam-Smith can do that, or if it just takes one shot to land and then Billiam-Smith can turn and then, like I say, be the more aggressive fighter, which he is becoming, then when Masternak's under pressure, he seems to struggle a bit more. There's obviously things of him being past his peak, and he's not overly fast himself. And, I mean, like I mentioned, he's lost in these step-ups, and so you'd like to think that in another step-up here against a world-level opposition that Billiam-Smith will be able to get the job done, but it doesn't always work like that. Billiam-Smith is the favourite, and I think that Billiam-Smith will win via TKO in round 9. I think Masternak could possibly gain a rhythm, could possibly gain a bit of a flow coming into the middle rounds, into the 5th to 6th round. He could win a couple rounds, but I think Billiam-Smith will just be moving around the ring well, constantly having a good work rate, possibly trying to showcase some of his in-close work, because I don't think Masternak's amazingly good in-close, and then I think he could land a couple good shots and it just take one, and I just don't know if Masternak's able to take a shot as well as maybe he could have done in the past, and possibly, like I mentioned, he's a bit too tough for his own good, and then Billiam-Smith could get him out of there, like I said, round 9 in the later rounds. Then who could go on to fights? I mean, everybody's kind of talking about that Riakporhe fight. That'd be a big fight. It'd be a fight which everybody wants in the English scene, and it's a rematch that everybody wants, so fight him again. Okoli again, that could happen. Like I say, you never know. It seems like Okoli might be returning in February time, so probably won't be against Billiam-Smith, so maybe not. Or, I mean, there's Gulamarian, there's Dorticos, there's a couple other options about. Obviously, people, I mean, you'd love to see him fight Opataya, but I just don't know if I can see that happening at the moment with the way that things are going. So, there's a couple big options, but I feel like the Riakporhe one probably is the main one. But yeah, that is it for today's video. Hope you did enjoy. Like if you did, and you like this, subscribe if you're new, and thanks for watching.